This is Kenneka Jenkins Part 2. What's up, everybody? It's your girl B Octavia, and I am back with another video. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is B Octavia. I'm 23 years old and I'm from Washington, D.C. If you are not new, then you know what's going on. I talk about things that happen in today's time as well as taking it back in time, so that we understand the people and the scenarios that affected basically the world, okay, that affected a lot of people. I wanted to do a Kenneka Part 2 because I didn't say my point of view on her murder. I didn't say who I thought was liable for it. I did not say whose fault it was. Over the time of me doing my research and realizing this was 3 years ago. When this happened, I feel like I have a different type of mind now, and it has grown several notches, you know what I mean? And I feel like I have come to a different conclusion, and I can't be sure on that, but one thing I'm not is afraid to talk about it. So, Kenneka Jenkins was 19 years old. She was reported missing after going to a hotel party at the Rosemont in Chicago after she did not come back home, okay? Now, from her mother says that Kenneka was working very hard and she didn't go out before this scenario. She didn't really have many friends, you know what I mean? Because she just worked. She worked, she came home. She worked, she came home. And I know how that felt, especially at the time. Once she was reported missing, there was a search, and then after a few hours, her body was located in a walk-in freezer. From Wikipedia, it says that it was latched, but I remember it saying that it was broken though. After her body was found, and unfortunately the pictures were released of her in the freezer, those pictures are still circulating to this day, and I feel like it's very sick. And it's very unfortunate that her last moments have to be on the World Wide Web. I mean, that should just be private, and that's for anybody. But after her body was found and the hotel video was released and shared and spread all throughout the world, there comes theories with that. And there comes people doing their own detective work. Now, when this happened, I just wanted to say this really fast. And this is about how I feel about theories. Being as though I was 21 and social media was really getting it was just getting bigger and bigger. You know, you're tuned into stuff that's happening on social media. So that's really how it was. After her death and after the video was released and certain theories came out and said, oh, look at this, from this time frame to this time frame, you can see a shadow, you can see this, you can see that. And I will be honest, this is the place where I am wholeheartedly honest. I will say that at that time, I thought I was saying what people were saying that they were saying. I look back on it and I don't see anyone. And that's not to say that there was no predator. There's not to say that there was no foul play involved. But I didn't see anybody. And when I look back on that time of watching the hotel thing and people saying, look at this, look at that, it's like your mind tricks you into believing that you're seeing what you're not seeing. You know what I mean? It tricks you into believing this theory. And like I said, it still is a possibility. I'm not going to subtract anything from this scenario, but I feel like people are only thinking in one way. How I feel about theories is I feel like it's okay to have your own opinion of what took place in a scenario and things like this, but when you're talking about pushing your theories out into the world, it has to be more. You know what I mean? It has to be actually seeing a person. It has to be actually giving up information that's going to help. It has to be facts. It just has to make sense. You know what I mean? And not to say that that theory of it being somebody here and somebody there, not to say that that wasn't a possibility, but I'm thinking differently as I grow up about the Kenneka Jenkins case. And while her demise was very unfortunate, it is very unfortunate, there could possibly be not so much as natural causes, because she did have alcohol in her system, which we are unclear about the toxicity level and stuff like that. We're unclear on the percentage at that time. At the time of her death, she also had a drug called Topamax. Topamax is used to treat epilepsy, people that have seizures and things to that nature. And it also prevents migraines. This drug is used by like alcoholics and stuff. That's what I seen. Or people that are dependent on alcohol. I mean, that's the same thing as an alcoholic, but you get what I'm saying. At the time of her death, she had that in her system as well as alcohol. And again, we are unclear on the percentage of that, but this drug does cause you to be in a sort of, not hallucination, but you do need a prescription when it comes to this. And I myself have never heard of this drug, and it does say to avoid alcohol when taking this drug. When using this drug with the mix of alcohol, it can cause tingling in your arms and legs. It causes increased bleeding, like nosebleeds and things like that. Increased bruising. So if you're knocking up against things, or you're slamming into stuff and everything like that, you can bruise easier. A loss of appetite, nausea, nervousness, upper respiratory tract infection, speech problems, tiredness, dizziness, slowed reactions, trouble with memory, abdominal pain, fever, and eye problems such as vision and things like that. Now, it also says that anything that requires you to be alert or a certain level of alertness, then you should not take this drug, especially when you're out and you have to drive and stuff like that. My first problem when it comes to her having Topamax in her system is, how did it get there? That's a huge thing for me. How did it get there? Did she take it herself, or was the drinks spiked? If you haven't hung around these people on a consistent level, you really wouldn't know what they do. And it's really important to note, because a lot of people, they meet their demise by being with somebody or being with a group of people that aren't necessarily right for them, or do things that they wouldn't do. And I feel like that might have been what it was. I honestly feel like her drinks were spiked. And I don't want to think of it like it was a personal thing they had against Kenneka. I want to think into a teenage male's mind. It's a hotel, it's Chicago, it's urban. You know, it would make sense that they would be spiking girls' drinks, you know, to get them to do whatever. So I definitely think that I mean, and that's the thing about it. It really could have went both ways, because I've been there. I've literally been there where you be busting your ass, you working so hard, and it's this one night that you go out and it goes a little too far. And I also know that peer pressure is real. I also know that curiosity is real, and especially if you haven't been anywhere, if you just work, you know what I mean, you might have some type of curiosity that night. It could have went either way in that aspect, and that's something that we should know, you know what I'm saying? That's something that should be known, should have been told by the occupants of this party. Who got it? Who's the plug for that? How did it arrive here? Do y'all even know what it is? Because from what I seen from the friends that stayed together, okay, which was all of them but one, which was Kenneka, was y'all on it too? But y'all had each other. So moving forward, that brings me into my next point. How did y'all separate? How did Kenneka start walking away from y'all? How? And you didn't question it at all? How? This is a possibility now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe it was getting too late, you know what I mean? And Kenneka wanted to leave. Soon after she left the hotel room, she got to that state of confusion, of being delirious. So that's popping in my head heavy, because that's really how I am. You know, I'm thinking about it, like, especially when I was 19, and if I'm not with my siblings, or I'm not home at a certain time, I feel uncomfortable. That very well could have happened to me. You know what I mean? Just making the same decision to leave, and you don't know that you've been spiked, and it hits you at the wrong time. It hits you when nobody is around. My thing is, how did y'all separate though? Like, it could have went that way as I just said, but that's the only thing I'm thinking of. Like, how could y'all have let her leave the hotel room by herself? And realistically, that could have happened where somebody could have seen her walk in the halls and really could have snatched her, because she didn't know where she was going. And it looked to me like she didn't know where she was. So that's huge. It's like, where were y'all? How did y'all separate? And that's what makes it seem as though it's a setup, because it's like, did y'all even care about her at all? You know, bottom line, I just want to speak on her last moments, and I want to my thoughts on it, of what could have went down, minus all the theories, minus anything just being real. I think people in general, especially if we young, we don't know our limits. It can all happen because of who we trust. I'm saying that because I remember getting up. You know what I mean? I remember I got hot as shit. I took particles of my clothing off just so I wouldn't be hot anymore, just off of and drinking too much that night, and especially, you know, the combination of the two. So I can only imagine, just from going through a similar scenario of what I think happened versus what happened to me, I feel like that's a huge possibility, that unfortunately she was trying to get out of the hotel, but being in such a delirious state, I couldn't even tell you. You know what I mean? That's what I felt like, and I still do feel like she was trying to find the exit, and it was too many long hallways. I feel like all of that made it worse. And then coming to the kitchen where it's getting cool, and then you're by the freezer and it's getting even cooler. I think that people need to open their minds to what could have realistically happened. And I'm not saying that to say that it was her fault. I'm not saying that to say that it's not the friend's fault. Her friends failed her. And just like if you're in a car with somebody, right? Say you're in a car with somebody and you're a little drunk. A little drunk to the point where, it's past the legal limit and it don't matter if you feel alright. You're drunk. You're driving, y'all having fun, and then y'all crash into a wall. You're unscathed and your friend dies. That's the same thing. I feel like the friends should be held accountable for her death. I feel like while it is important to file a wrongful death lawsuit against the hotel, because there should be people, security and stuff walking around. There should be, somebody to help people like that. But definitely, they should be hit with wrongful death lawsuits because y'all all arrived together. That's the number one rule. Y'all arrive together and y'all leave together. Now, what we don't know is if they had got into it, because they are teenage girls. You know what I'm saying? If they had got into it right before leaving the hotel room and then they went their separate ways and she's been spiked, you know what I'm saying? She's been drugged. So it all starts to kick in. I don't know. And I wish these ignorant ass teenagers who were there really say what happened. Because if it was just a simple her wanting to leave before y'all was ready and y'all did spike her, then say it. Say that. It's a huge possibility to me that the mix of alcohol and this prescription, I believe that's what caused her death. You know what I'm saying? Walking around and trying to find the exit, and on the inside you're getting mad about it, and with this combination and you moving, you're getting hotter and hotter and hotter. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. And I don't know if it happens to a lot of people. I don't know if it just happens to black people, but we do in our ancestry have histories of high blood pressure, So we really have to be careful, and bottom line, we have to be careful about who we trust. That's the real thing that I see, because they should be held accountable for this. That's just real. I really hope that something comes of this as far as them having to pay that fee or them going to jail or something, because not enough information has come from their side, and they really the only ones that can say what it is and what it's not. And not really from the last moments of her death, but tell me what happened in the hotel. I don't want to see no videos about no theories. Listen, it's 2020, and being a young adult and thinking for myself, I want to think smart, okay? I know things happen. I know people sweep shit under the rug all the time. I know this. But we really have to open our minds, and instead of just believing that one thing that somebody has said, let's make our own conclusions. And let's also, you got to know the people that you riding with. You got to know the people that you going to party with. You got to know the people that you breaking bread with, that you eating with. You got to know them, because shit like this can happen. And even though in their eyes it wasn't a setup, it was a setup, because you don't leave without her. It's just that simple. So I say that to say, I am praying for her mom, her family, her loved ones. I'm praying for better days when the youth really start to love each other. And, us as black people, period. We got to have that protection over each other instead of just throwing each other into the line of fire. Praying for better days. Let's pray for Kenneka Jenkins. It's your girl, B. Octavia, and I will see y'all in my next video.